Philippine Politics and Governance, Lesson 4, States, Nations, and Globalization. Ewan Stories.
Like, subscribe, click the notification bell.
Let us define state. State is a political structure of an organized community that lives under a government. It is also a form of human association distinguished from other social groups by its purpose, the establishment of order and security, its methods, the laws, and the enforcement, its territory, the area of jurisdiction or geographic boundaries, and finally by its sovereignty. There are four elements of the state. We have territory, government, population, and sovereignty. Para mas madali siyang tandaan, isipin nyo lang ang acronym na TGPS. Territory. Place where the people that compose the state are located. Includes land, water, natural resources, and airspace located within it. Geographical region recognized to be a distinct national entity. Government. Institution empowered by the people to control and administer a state. Population, people that compose the state. Sovereignty, ability of a state to conduct its affairs and enact its authority without interference from outside forces. There are two aspects of sovereignty, internal and external. For internal sovereignty, ability of the state to govern and control its people and territory. External sovereignty, freedom from outside influences or foreign intervention. Sovereignty and the state. If we combine these two ideas, we will have a sovereign state. A sovereign state is free to pursue its interests and uphold its objectives and goals independently and without undue influence from other states. They are free to decide its own affairs and cannot be forced by other states to adopt policies detrimental to its own welfare. It is unified, coherent, and organized entity that is able to effectively exercise the powers of the state. Classification of state, this is according to legitimacy. We have two. The first one is the de facto state. This is one that has no legitimacy but has sovereignty. The other one is the jure state. This is one that has legitimacy but cannot exercise sovereignty. Examples of the classification of state existed during the Japanese occupation of the Philippines in 1942 to 1945. The Second Republic or the puppet government headed by President Jose P. Laurel, where the Philippines was under the Japanese, was only recognized by Japan and its allies but not the rest of the world. This is an example of the de facto state. The de jure state happened while the government was led by President Manuel L. Quezon and whose members live in exile in the U.S. enjoyed diplomatic relations with the allies and the rest of the international community at that time. We also have limited sovereignty. Some states have limited sovereignty as a part of a union or a federation. Example of this is the United States of America. It is a federal republic of 50 states and various territories and possessions. Each 50 states has sovereignty concerning its internal affairs. Each state has its own government, a governor, which is the head of the executive, a state legislature, and a state judiciary. In limited sovereignty, states are able to independently promulgate the laws and policies and enjoy autonomy in terms of policy making, election of public officials, and even tax distribution. The federal government, where it is considered the central government, has authority over military action and international relations. They pass laws and implement policies which are applicable to all states. Let us now understand what is nationhood. For nationhood, the root word is nation. It is a large group of people who share common characteristics such as these are the elements. We have the language, tradition, and ethnicity. They share common culture and history. Emergence of nationhood. with the concept of identity and ethnicity. People primarily identify their belongingness to a local community based on ethnicity. From historian Benedict Anderson, the nation is an imagined political community both inherently limited and sovereign. The sense of nationhood is considered an idea of feeling among like-minded individuals who share the same background and identity. Like for example, whenever there is a fight with Manny Pacquiao, lumalabas yung ating pagka-Pilipino at pagiging Pilipino. Also with Miss Universe kung saan pinagmamalaki natin ang pagiging Pilipino kapag nananalo ang ating mga kandidata. The factors of nationhood, we have cultural, historical, and political. An example of a nation who have all of these three is the Japanese people because they are defined by distinct culture, society, and history. Nation state. This is a combination of the ideas of a state and the nation. Nation building, where a state has a single national identity and that identity is reinforced and further developed by the state. One example is President Manuel L. Quezon in creating a national language for the Philippines, which is Tagalog. This was later changed to Filipino. Globalization, the gradual process of political, economic, and cultural integration brought by increased exchange of products, ideas, and technology throughout the world. Political globalization began in the 20th century through intergovernmental organization and supranational unions. The League of Nations was founded after World War I. And after World War II, it was replaced by the United Nations. Various international treaties had been signed through it. Regional integration has been pursued by the African Union, ASEAN, and the European Union. International political institutions on the international level include the International Criminal Court or the ICC, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Trade Organization. How globalization influences nation-states. Globalization and nation-states does not contradict each other. Globalization is the present stage of the capitalist development, while the nation-state is the territorial political unit that organizes the space and the population in the capitalist system. Scholars also predicted that in a globalized world, nation-states, which are naturally separated by geographic and economic borders, would become less important. Globalization had the well-known effect of favoring westernization while putting other nation-states in a disadvantage when negotiating with the Americas and Europe. Nation-states are forced to examine their economic policies due to many challenges and opportunities that multinational corporations and other entities of international commerce creates. Globalization creates a sense of interdependence among nations, which would create an imbalance of power amongst nations of different economic strengths. That's lesson 4 for Philippine politics and governance, which is states, nations, and globalization. If you like this lesson, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe and also hit the notification bell for updates. Thanks for watching. Take care.